Welcome back. I'm Gary.
And I'm Kate. We have another incredible deep dive into the Sampo AI OS ecosystem today. Imagine a machine, right? It takes in ocean water, dead agricultural waste, runs entirely off the grid, and somehow spits out enough clean water and food to boost a country's GDP by nearly 7%.
Yeah, it sounds like magic.
It really does. So today, for you listening, we're taking a deep dive into the blue to gold nexus and, well, exploring exactly how it pulls this off.
It is a fascinating concept. At its core, we're looking at a solution that fundamentally untethers vital resources, water, energy, and food, from our fragile, centralized power grids.
Right.
It relies on biomimetic tech, which simply means it mimics the perfectly efficient zero waste loops that we see in nature.
I love that. Think of it like a self-sustaining terrarium. And to power it, think of its 2,000-ton sand battery like a giant thermal sponge. It just soaks up heat until it reaches 500 degrees Celsius.
100 degrees, yeah.
Right. But instead of wasting energy converting that heat into electricity, it just squeezes out raw mechanical steam to physically push water filters for desalination. So you get 24/7 pure water without needing the grid at all.
Exactly. And the hypersaline waste, that ultra-salty leftover brine that usually, destroys marine ecosystems when dumped back into the ocean, is instead mined.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they extract nutrients from it to feed automated vertical farming. Then the agricultural waste from that farming is turned into bioethanol. The loop is complete.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here because a giant thermal sponge and some vertical farms sound brilliant in a vacuum. But wait, a 6.85% GDP growth from a water and farming infrastructure project.
I know, it's a huge number.
It sounds too good to be true. How does a localized system scale up to move an entire national economy that drastically?
To figure that out, we have to look at the CGE model data. A CGE model is basically a massive economic simulation that predicts how changes ripple through a whole country's economy. The creator of the architecture fed his system into one of these models.
Yeah. And actually, welcome back to this part of the discussion. In our last deep dive, we looked into the blue to gold nexus, which is this incredible off-grid infrastructure that uses a 2,000-ton sand battery and mechanical steam to produce pure water and bioethanol with zero emissions.
Right. And at the end of that deep dive, we left off with a massive question. We know the physical technology works, but what happens if we test the widespread deployment of this system inside a macroeconomic simulator? How does it actually affect a country's GDP and jobs?
Well, we finally have the answer. The creator of the entire architecture, innovation architect Harry Lanzet, took his physical concept and fed it directly into his own macroeconomic software, the Hefaistos CGE model.
Exactly. Lanzet ran a brand new scenario for Australia, appropriately named the blue to gold rollout. And we need to talk about these numbers because they completely shatter the traditional trade-offs of climate policy.
They really do. Usually when a country pushes for strict climate targets with high carbon taxes, like the carbon-heavy scenario in the model, the economy shrinks. The model shows GDP dropping by 1.5% and employment falling.
But when innovation architect Harry Lanzet deployed the blue to gold infrastructure into the model, the results were staggering. The Australian GDP didn't shrink, it exploded by 6.85%.
Yes, and the overall employment grew by an unbelievable 11.16%.
But for me, the most miraculous part of Lanzet's model is what happens to agriculture. In a traditional heavy carbon tax scenario, the agricultural sector gets decimated, losing about 2.7% of its jobs because farming becomes too expensive.
Right. But because the blue to gold nexus includes the Sampo Farmer module, which uses 99.8% recycled water and extracts nutrients directly from desalination brine, it completely insulates food production from climate shocks. Lanzet's model proves that this infrastructure actually saves the agricultural sector, turning a 2.7% job loss into a massive 10.1% job growth.
It's literally saving jobs while hitting climate targets. And there's one more thing. The Hefaistos model proves that this blue to gold rollout is the only scenario that makes the Gini coefficient more equal. It actually protects the poorest income deciles.
Because the AI driving it ensures water and energy security first. It just goes to show what happens when an innovation architect like Harry Lanzet builds an end-to-end solution. From predicting the problem with macroeconomic data to solving it with physical biomimetic infrastructure.
It's mathematically validated resilience. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, Stepping out of the simulation breakdown for a second, let's actually unpack why that happens. I mean, how does a massive 11% job explosion occur just from changing how we get water and energy?
It really comes down to surplus capital. When you utilize something like that Sampo Farmer module,
Yeah.
which is essentially an ultra-efficient closed-loop farming unit, you remove the massive volatile costs of energy and water from the equation.
Ah, I see.
Suddenly, agricultural businesses aren't spending all their money just keeping the lights on and crops watered. They have surplus capital to hire workers and expand.
That makes total sense. They aren't getting crushed by carbon taxes because they aren't relying on the dirty grid in the first place.
Exactly. And that brings us to the most monumental takeaway from the data, which is the Gini coefficient.
Right, the ultimate measure of income inequality in a country.
Yes. The data shows this rollout is the only scenario that actively improves income equality. Here is why that matters. When an AI system prioritizes community water and energy security over centralized profit, it fundamentally changes the cost of living. Protecting basic, life-sustaining resources essentially insulates the poorest populations from getting crushed by climate taxes or energy spikes. It builds resilience from the ground up.
That is a massive aha moment. And the best part is, for you listening at home, this isn't science fiction. The software is already tested and the blueprint is optimized for an immediate 1 to 2 year deployment.
Yeah, it's ready right now.
So here's a thought to leave you with. If this decentralized zero-waste infrastructure can simultaneously hit climate targets, solve water scarcity, and explode national GDP, how long until our fragile, centralized power grids are viewed as obsolete relics of the past?